What's up, everybody? This is officially the first episode of the Rush Season podcast, community talk show, whatever you want to call it. It is what it is. It's a quick introduction again. I'm Gabe. With me, I have Brandon and Nesto.
What's up?
And
Yo.
we're here to talk about something very special, close to our hearts. Well, I wouldn't say everybody's heart, but close to most organizations' hearts, and that's parties, right?
Wait, what's the name of this episode again?
No freshmen allowed.
That's right. Episode number 1.
Episode
No
1, baby.
freshmen allowed. Yeah, no freshmen allowed. That's something we heard a lot on our journey to where we got to.
As freshmen, yeah.
as freshmen, the getting kicked out of parties, getting charged super 20, 30, which I
Stupid
never
amount
did.
of money.
Yeah, if you ask for more than 5, I'd rather just walk back to campus at that point. Sometimes if you knew the person at the door, that'd be lit, of course. But going to another organization's house, sometimes you might do a little upcharge, but there's a lot of behind the scenes to that too.
It's like that, yeah.
It
It's
is.
definitely like that.
Well, funny you said that, just because, obviously this year we had the house, and it was a big difference. Rather than going to people's parties, we had the parties. We didn't have to beg people to let us in. But it just makes me think of when I was a freshman, and so they were like 10s or 15s, and I'd be like, no. I'd be like, 5. I have $5. Here you go. And freshmen now, they're suckers, because when I do a door, I'm like 15. They're like, oh, okay, bro. What's the Venmo? Me, when I was a freshman, I was just like 10. I'm like, I got $5, bro. Take it or leave it. And then he'd be like, nah, 10. I'd be like, nah, bro, I got $5. Like, here you go, dude. Like, take it or leave it.
That's not one thing that changed the party game, too, at the door. If you're running the door, 10 years ago, there was no Venmo. You couldn't be like, yo, check the Venmo. If they had $5 in cash, they had $5 in cash.
$5 in cash. And I'd be like, dude, this is all I got, man. Like, take it. And he'd be like, oh, fine, bro. Especially fucking Wilmette. I hope you see this.
Damn, all right.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, they're pain, right? But what's interesting that you say that, so right, freshman year, you go on campus, you're trying to figure out what the parties were, unless you had some type of insight. I had a family member that did attend, our school, and so she gave me a rundown, but I knew something was up because at this point she was going off campus. You know what I mean? Not off campus to off campus house associated with the school, but she was going to South Orange, right? She's going to Elizabeth, she's going to different schools, and I'm like, all right, something's up. And that process of being charged 10s, 15, 20s. And then fast forward when we had the opportunity to have the crib, have the trap, to be to do what we said we weren't going to do, to realize that you have to do it, right? You have a choice, and that choice is it going to be 5 today or is it going to be 50? And we were talking about this off camera, and it's a quote that I want to say real quickly, and then Brandon, you got it. So this is a nice quote by Mr. Harvey Dent himself, and it's, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
And we ain't dying anytime soon, knock on wood.
No, sir.
Facts. And we was not gonna die.
Became the villain.
Facts. You have to be. Now there's different types of villains. You know what I mean? You have scummy. We weren't scummy. We were fair, and that's one thing I can say. We were as fair as we could be. Except when you were at the door.
Wow, was that door almost every time?
Terrible.
Listen, all right, here's the thing. When the house has bills to pay, all right, the house has bills to pay. All right?
Right.
So, we'd have a lot of parties where obviously funny, the title is No Freshmen Allowed. We'd be no freshmen allowed, invite only.
Yeah.
But then, obviously I let freshmen in. I even let people, I'll explain it this way. If I didn't know you, I scummed you. Even if you were on the list, and I'll never forget, this monkey goes, "Oh, hey, bro, what's up? I'm on the list." He's like, "How much is it?" I'm like, 20. And he goes, "Oh, okay," and he just hands me the 20. I'm just like, all right, like fuck. And then this whole group of 5 freshman dudes came up after, and then they're like, "Yo, bro, do you think we can get in?" I was like, "No." And they go, "How much, bro? How much?" I'm like, if all of you throw $20, I'll let you in. So 5 freshmen, easy $100. There you go. That goes towards the electricity, something, utility, something like that. You know, take off some of their rent, something like that. It was like that. You know, I even charged freshman girls because, you know, when we say no freshmen allowed, there's no freshmen allowed. And then girls would be like, "Oh, no, I'm a sophomore." I'd be like, "What grade are you in?" They'd be like, "Oh, I'm a sophomore." I'd be like, "Can I see your student ID?" They'd be like, "Oh, that doesn't mean anything." I'd be like, "Yes, it does, bitch." And that's
Brandon, I need you. I need you right now.
All right, so listen. So what I was gonna say is, at the end of the day, you might ask, like, so what's good? Why are you taking my money at the door? I'm trying to enter your home just to have a good time in my college experience. Well, look, we need the bread because we got fucking bills to pay. And when I say we, it's not everyone in the organization. It's the people that live there that, you know, the house is expensive and it's a liability even to be throwing parties. So when we're saying no freshmen allowed, it's like, look, we have nothing against you. And when we're saying, you know, if we don't know you, we're not letting you in, it's not personal. It's a liability. We're trying to, you know, keep order in a setting that's normally chaotic. It's a party. So you're trying to keep some sort of order, you know, because you want to make sure everyone's safe. You want to make sure everyone's having a fun time, but the safety kind of outweighs the fun time. Like, if you got to tell people to quiet down or, look, you know, we're not letting you in because we're capped or there's too many people inside, it's not because we're assholes. It's because, look, we're worried about safety and shit. So
almost every open party almost turned into a disaster.
Well, what's crazy to me is the psychology behind that, right? You say no freshmen allowed. Freshmen are still getting in, right? You say no freshmen, or you say certain things so that it scares people, right? Oh, no freshmen allowed. Damn, that means if I pull up, I'm not gonna get in.
It's
right?
Deterrence.
Right. It's like a psychological warfare. Oh, they said it. Or if you're gonna come, chances are, let's be real, chances are you might get in. But
you have a pretty good chance throwing up money.
You also
like,
have.
I feel like a lot of people, when they look at something like this, like whether you're in Greek life or not, they look at it and they're like, oh shit, like they like to keep their shit exclusive, like, you know, they don't fuck with outsiders type of shit, and it's really not like that. Like, when it comes down to it, you know, when we say people we know those people. We know how they're going to behave. We know if they're going to be crazy. We know if they're going to be chill. Most of the time, the people we're going to let in are going to be chill. So if we don't know you, we haven't evaluated that yet. So we got to make sure, 1, who are you? And 2, like, if there's a lot of people inside, look, dude, it's not safe to come in because you're not going to have room to breathe. Like, there's hella heads inside.
Not even that. Freshmen are always a fucking risk, dude. They always, like, here's the thing, and we were talking about this earlier. When a freshman gets in, they're like, oh, shit, bro, I got into this party. Fuck, I'm, like, the man. And then they act all high and mighty, and then they just start fucking, like, here's the difference. Like, I don't know. I feel like most of the time people who are blacking out, and we don't promote irresponsible drinking or underage drinking or the use of drugs.
No,
but like, they're always the ones to, like, black out or do some dumb shit or get in trouble, get us in trouble. Like, these motherfuckers, like, our house was across a middle school.
You know,
it's already sketchy enough. And these kids are staying across the street drunk. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah. There's cops that come up and down the street. Like, think about it.
You have to take calculated risk, right? And yes, school zone, yes, neighbors, you know, but when you go to a school the size of our school, which wasn't the biggest school, wasn't even a medium-sized school, it was a smaller school. Sure. They know that you threw a party, and they also know if the party was good or not, right? So what happens? And this is for people, you know, recruiting tactics. You have the ability to throw a function, right? To throw a party, and it's a pretty good party. And there's levels to throwing a good party. It's not just you have people come over and it's a good party. No. It's the vibe. You know, your org sets the tone, right? They set the culture, they set the vibe. From the music to the lights to the people at the door, right? How your experience is tailored. This is like you're coming to Atlantic City or Las Vegas. You're going to a hotel. We're not gonna greet you. We're not gonna take your bags, but we're gonna let you know, like, this is our crib. You're gonna respect it. We want you to have the best time you can. And for freshmen, sophomore, anybody coming into a house that they don't know, just know that the people who own the house, we're watching everything. We're watching you. One, we're watching to make sure you don't punch a hole in the wall or break a window, right? Aiden. Of course. Right.
Ooh.
Shout out to my boy.
I haven't seen that man in forever. Aiden Smith.
He's doing well. Aiden Smith was goody. We should get you on the podcast soon.
That's true.
But, you know, if you're interested or you have questions, come up to one of the brothers, right? You know, make yourself known, because we're going to think that you're only coming just to party. At the end of the day, and we'll get to this in another episode of the topic, if you just did a party, we know that. You only hit us up to, yo, what you throwing down Friday or Saturday? It's never, oh, what's up? Like, you guys have an event, you know, and we notice things like that, especially for at a smaller school, you know, with one of the few houses, we're not going to take our liberty and just give it to you. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. But I want to talk about the levels to throw on a banger, right? What do you think? All right, what do you think the most important thing?
What you're gonna break it down? Like what? We're going to Gabe's cooking class, and what's the recipe to cooking up your banger here? Like,
I think we all have different recipes. You know, I think we all, like, for some, it might just be not being in a boiler room. You know what I'm saying? Like
all of our parties are boiler rooms.
Yeah, I mean, add it to the mystique. Right,
I mean,
you know.
So you're talking about, like, the different levels of, like, having a party, like what makes a party good?
To this. In your opinion, what is a banger versus a dud?
A dud is whoever's on the aux plays shit music. That's a big one, because that kills the vibe. The amount of people that are there, like, you obviously don't want too much. You definitely don't want too little, because then the fuck are you doing? Just talking to the same two people the entire party?
Right. Well, shout out to Halloween. Halloween, we had close.
Halloween was
Halloween. Like, that was a party.
Yeah, that was a party. Yeah, for sure.
I put it into this perspective.
Should we estimate the number of people?
250.
Nah, bro, I'd say more.
I put it in this perspective. FDU has 3,000 kids, right?
Yeah.
About, give or take a couple hundred. If we had 300 kids there, we had 10% of the college there. You know, that might not sound big to, like, big school kids, but, like, it's a whole different story at FDU, where we have 3,000 kids, and if you have 10% of the school, that's kind of significant, you know?
We definitely made that happen.
We
definitely did, but
definitely pushed that shit to its limit.
But there's drawbacks to that. That was just too much, right? It was who's where, who's watching what, and another thing, you know, e-board members, you gotta let your chapter know. Mixers are different, kickbacks are different, but when you're trying to throw an open party, you can't run the risk of your brothers getting to a point where they can't handle situations.
Yeah.
Right. You know, it's as simple as the bathroom line. It's as complex as, you know, sorority girls or just the girls at the party saying he's weird, he's touchy. You have to handle that, because we're not having any of that, right? We're not having the weirdos, the creeps come in. We're not having people trying to piss on the lawn either. That's hot. You know what I mean?
100%. And, at a certain point in every organization's history, the police are going to show up. Like, that's going to happen. That's almost a guaranteed. If you're consistently throwing parties, it's going to happen. So you need to anticipate that and plan for that, and have someone that's designated to be like, yo, if shit does go south, that's the person that's going to go outside when that time comes, you know? So that's something you got to be thinking about. Even if you think you got it all under control, you never know. You know, people get phone happy. Neighbors like to call. I mean, it all comes down to how you run your party. But at the end of the day, sometimes more people show up than you anticipate, and things can get crazy. So you got to be ready.
Like I said, like a school like FDU is nothing like a big school. It's not like cops are chill. Cops have nothing better to do in an area like by us, except get kids for the most minor things for the most part, busting a party. It's not like at big schools where they're like, oh, this kid's carrying a 30 rack around the streets. Like when I was fucking 19, or 18, just in Albany carrying 230 racks, and then I just pass cops and just don't give a shit. If that happened by us, they'd be like, let me see your ID, and I'd be like, fuck,
Yeah.
Right.
you definitely have to one, be nice to your neighbors, right? Do what you got to do. Send them, hey, you need sugar today? Hey, it's snowing, can we shovel? Especially elderly neighbors, neighbors with families, with kids. You have to, like again, that's why I say there's levels to a good party, because the bad party involves the party when it only runs for an hour, right? And our parties or our functions, our get-togethers, our book club meetings would
span a while.
I'd be in the trap till 2:33 with music still at a respectable volume,
Right.
And you have to be cognizant of your environment, make good connections. And what I would say, even if you go to a big school, right, it's definitely different at a big school. I'm not going to predict and know what it's like to have a house at Penn State, Ohio State, ESPN schools, sports schools. But I'm pretty sure you're thinking the same way, right? In case of an emergency, right? For our case, if cops did pull up, you would generally want the people on the lease to be outside to talk to them, because they're going to ask who's on the lease. And if you're not on the lease, well, they're going to be like, all right, then why am I always on the phone?
Yeah, I mean, you could have a great conversation with the cop, but at the end of the day, they want to talk to the person that's on the lease.
Right. Like, how was your day? It was good. All right. Where's everybody?
Yeah.
So
who lives here is the important question.
We got lucky though. Like every time cops did show up, nothing really happened. It's not like cops never showed up. They did.
Yeah. Right. It was a handful of times.
We were fortunate too. That's going to be a very anecdotal thing, and as far as like every person and organization's experience is going to be different. Like your location, the size of your org, the city that your house is in. So everything's different for every org. So when it comes down to maintaining order, like you all, no matter what sort of situation you're in, you kind of have to have like a base plan as far as risk management goes, and who's in charge of what sort of deal. So
I would say, as e-board members, president, risk, anybody that handles risk chair, risk management,
Miguel.
Miguel, what's the risk at? It was over high for some reason. Shout out to Miguel. But there's
shout out to Juan. What do you mean?
Yeah, Juan's the new GOAT.
Right, but they're in the same family, so they did well.
That's right, same lineage. Yeah.
Same lineage, but so people might look at this and be like, it's crazy. Why would they think like that? Why think that deep? The difference between being over-prepared and not being prepared at all is a summons, is suspension, could be worse. I'd rather be over-prepared for a situation that could happen than the situation happen and I'm looking as an e-board member, right? Or as president, as VP, secretary, it doesn't matter. We look around like, all right, I guess we're fucked. Like, I don't want that.
If you want to, so what does over-prepared look like? Like, break it down. Like, what does that take? Like, what is it?
Well, we had like ways of like handling situations. Like we already had like we knew what to do before the situation happened.
Right.
Like, we thought of like how to deal with it. It's better to do that than just be like, do it on the fly. Like, cop pulls up, be like, I don't know what to say, so I'm just gonna bullshit him, rather than like knowing exactly what to say and then getting out of the situation.
100%. Yeah.
Now, for me, the way my mind works, it could be as simple as what to say. You could have bonding events with the chapter. You could have someone simulate a cop. You know what I mean? just knock on the door and it's stuff like that, right? So it adds to your experience in the chapter. It's fun. It's a bonding experience, but also you have to think on the fly, right? Like I would definitely have Luke. Shout out to Luke. Luke as the cop, and because Luke's gonna hit you with all these quick things back to back, right? As a cop would, thinking that you're intoxicated, thinking that you're under the influence or something. Now for me, it goes deep, right? It'll be the people watching the door. 21, right? I mean, you have shifts, right? You get 21 because if they ask, cops come, they ask for ID. At least everybody outside is 21, right?
Right.
It could be situations inside. Having your muscle, your sergeant, preferably be a beefy guy, you know what I'm saying, or be someone with stature, someone intimidating. So when someone does act up, he's right there, and they're gonna respect that. It's plans to hide the jug. You know what I mean? It's
hide the what?
The stuff. Hide the stuff. It could be as simple as putting.
That's a great question too. Like, so you're throwing a party. I mean, first of all, you want to get people to show up, but like, well, what about the alcohol? When people go to parties, they want to be feeling good, and most of the time, people are drinking. So, as far as like the people that own the house or people who are throwing the parties, how do you make sure everyone's having a good time with alcohol without worrying about am I gonna get sued? What are the liabilities? I gotta make sure everyone's safe. So at the end of the day, you got to find a balance there. So it's important to talk about with your organization what's the best way to approach that balance, but it's definitely something that needs to be discussed. You don't want to just be handing out some amount of alcohol that's not even calculated, and then at that, like, you got people that are falling down on your lawn and
I mean, as lame as it sounds, like the best way to avoid a lawsuit is just to never serve alcohol.
Ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds lame as fuck, but BYOB, I'm not serving them alcohol. I don't know. They brought it, not me, that type of shit.
Exactly. So.
Well, also, when I think about it, you invite a bunch of people over. That's just a bunch of people in the house. You know what I mean? It's just a bunch of people. You say BYOB. Now, I don't know the specific laws, or it could be different in counties, states, cities, whatever. If they brought it in, I didn't know. It was in a water bottle. It was clear. How was I supposed to know? Right? Now, I'm not saying that's going to fly. What I'm saying is that gives you some leeway other than, let's say the cops do pull up. They do come inside and they see
you got a keg, you got juice.
They see 30 bottles of Pink Whitney that are empty, right? And we're not even sponsored. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, all right, guys. If I was a cop, I would have been like, did they sponsor you? Like, what's going on here?
What's
I
up?
would have been like, nah, shut out Barstool, right? Like, I guess, so you have to plan in advance, right? Now, what I do want to do, because we kind of touched it for a little bit, the levels to the party. There's levels to this, right? Now, what I think the important factors of a banger versus a dud is, one, the type of people, right? Who are you inviting? Because when we had date night, that was so exclusive. It was one of the best things we ever did, right? Now, it's supposed to be one of the best things because that was our substitute for formal. But, you saw how a brother inviting a date really changed dynamics, right? And it's smaller. You had the DJ, you know what I'm saying? We ordered food. So you made it homey, right? You made it fun.
Yeah.
And that matters, right? Also the people, it's not only the people you invite, but the people in your organization. Are they creepy? Do they know how to have a good time? Are they respectful? Not saying you have to be a simp. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to be respectful.
What's wrong with simping? No, I'm kidding.
We'll get
That's
to
very
that
different. That's very different.
Do your thing. Do your thing.
That's for different. Do your thing. You know what I mean? Do you? Music definitely. And
music.
my aux days, man. My aux days make me want to be a DJ, because I really do have the confidence or the cockiness of, like, I know what makes people want to move. Like, I know what people want to hear. Now, when you're on aux, you have to know who's coming, your demographic, because it could be as simple as, not even as simple. It could be the big booty mix is the only thing that's going to work. Or
some Pop Smoke.
Have some Pop
She
Smoke.
Like the way I dance. She like the way I
She like the way that I move. R.I.P. R.I.P. Pop. So it really, or like what I like to do, I like to cater to everybody. I'll throw a little every time we touch. I get, what I'm saying?
Feeling, and every time you kiss, I swear.
A little dancing queen.
Yeah. Shout out to Maddie. That's Maddie's
Shout out
thing.
to Maddie. Shout out to Maddie. And then boom, Lil Baby. Boom, Pop Smoke. Boom. What?
Shakira,
whoa, hips don't lie. You know what I'm saying? So I like, I try to mimic a club, or definitely a club, maybe a bar, but definitely a club where it's just movement. I want people dancing. I don't want dudes I don't want girls to say they have a bad time, because if they had a bad time, they're gonna let people know they had a bad time. And if you're in a fraternity, they put in work.
That's how it goes. No, people, especially in our situation where we were from a small school, like we said earlier. So, everyone's situation is going to be a little different as far as, maybe you could throw a party. It could be a dud. No one finds out about it. But, the smaller the school, the faster word travels. So people knew if it was lame. So you want to make sure that shit was better.
My personal preference is always Dages.
Ages.
I always had a good time at a Dage. Now, the question is, I call it a Dage. So who the fuck's crazy enough to call it what the fuck? What's the other word for a rager? No, not a rager.
A darty?
Darty. That's the fucking word. So fucking lame. It's a Dage.
What's a darty?
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's either because people are like, oh, is it darty or Dage? It's Dage.
Call that shit a
darty. I wouldn't call it a darty, but if people called it a darty, I'd just give them a look and be like, yeah, the day tomorrow.
I see what they did there, but
those are my personal favorites, because I don't know, day drinking is just so much more fun with a lot of people rather than I don't know. I like the vibes during the day.
It's different.
I just had more fun. I just had overall more fun. I don't know exactly what it was, but I always was in a better mood at a Dage rather than a party at night. I guess because I'm not doing door as much. It's just some shit like that.
I think about to say I wasn't doing DoorDash. I was like, what? I was like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, dude, I'm doing DoorDash at the party.
They just are risky though.
They are, but we had the perfect house for a date. Shout out Luke. Shout out Saul. Will.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, location is really huge when it comes to a Dage. Not every org is gonna have the luxury of having a house that is Dage material. You gotta think about that. When you're going to get, if you're paying rent or if you have your chapter house, you gotta think about, what's your backyard looking like, what's your property looking like, because you don't want to be squeezing mad people into a tiny space, and then neighbors. That's the whole other thing. So, we talked about neighbors earlier. You like Gabe was saying, you want to get close to your neighbors just in life outside of Greek orgs and stuff. Get to know your neighbors and know who you're living around. But it really pays off when you're trying to do something like throw a party. So
I got something. All right. Another important thing is if you have a house and another fraternity has a house, or whatever fraternity has a house, try to set something up as in, we let your brothers in, you let our brothers in for fives, something like that. Where there's some coexistence there,
mutual respect.
Mutual respect. That's the idea. It makes it better. You get to experience their parties. They get to experience ours. You see the difference. You could even see how you could throw a party a little bit better.
Yeah.
You learn from those experiences.
What I would also say, of course, take care of your house as best as you can. Clean it.
Cleaning committee.
Cleaning committees, and one thing I lacked, and I realized I lacked it after the fact, was after the party, definitely having brothers just go after and just help clean. Especially if you can't, if it's not an actual fraternity house and there's people in it, 20 people already in it, definitely help out, because the way I looked at it was, I was grateful for those who lived in the house, who sacrificed having to be a commuter, you know what I mean? And, gas money, all that stuff. And granted, they wanted to do that, but there was no reason for them to throw the amount of parties we did, so shout out to them. I'll always be grateful for that. But clean your house. You know what I'm saying? Make sure it looks presentable, no matter what. Also, in terms of other orgs, that could get tricky. That could definitely get tricky. And you know, if there's beef, yeah, you never have to fight, no fist fights, but they don't have to pull up. Or if they pull up, they're not coming in. Let them know. And it hurts more when your house is the better house. You know, of course, people are going to have their preferences, and that may be just because they like people in the other orgs or whatever. But if you know your house got it, you know your house has it. Just don't get lost in the sauce. At the end of the day, don't get lost in the sauce.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's have a good time. You know, make sure everyone's safe, and you know, there's always going to be politics and stuff. So it's you want to keep in mind what's going on behind the scenes, because you know things can pop off, and you could kind of prevent that if you kind of know where the beef is prior to the party or event happening. But yeah, definitely talk it out. You definitely want to prevent that as much as possible. Like, you want to remember, we all are part of one like Greek life, wherever you go to school. So it's, if something really crappy happens at one party, the whole school Greek life could go down. So, well, while we do look at each other as different orgs, at the same time, we are all part of one sort of same like ecosystem. So, it's good to know what the beef is so you can prevent fights and stuff, but at the same time, try and be close with the other orgs if you can. Like, of course shit happens. Not every org's going to be perfect. So.
Yeah. Some tips that I would offer to orgs with houses. If you could get a DJ, if you have space for a DJ, it just adds to the vibes, to the atmosphere. If you have someone on aux, please make sure they're good. Please make sure they're good. Number one. Number two,
make sure they're Gabe. What are you talking about? Good. I'd get good.
Right.
You might say Gabe, right?
Bro, if I had, I'm definitely getting into DJing for sure. But that's just me in my own head. But if you have someone on aux, like I was on aux because I it got to a point where I forced myself to be on aux, and I would tell my brothers, I'd be like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not doing it. And then I ended up on it because I felt like I was the only one that could be lit at it, but that wasn't true. There's other people.
I did it like once or twice. What the hell?
When you that's what I'm saying. Like, I thought I got to a point where I was just like, no one could touch this, and then I was.
Gabe never took my requests. I'm not even gonna cap like this. Like,
yo, I didn't take requests either sometimes because I was just way too drunk, and I'd be like, "What'd you say?" And then they'll say like the song, and then they'll walk away and be like, "Wait, what song did they say?" Like, oh.
Bro, people will come up to me and they'd be like, "Can you play so and so?" I'd be like, "Yeah," and then I'll look to a brother and be like, "There's no way." Yeah. There's no way.
Another thing,
get a Bluetooth. Get a Bluetooth speaker.
Another thing that I think that we forgot to mention, it was I think a house is kind of important for recruiting, especially at a small school where not every fraternity has a house. It's not, you don't want a kid joining for the part of they're having parties. You want them to join because they want to be a part of the organization. But that was a big thing with us. Like we hit some humps where some kids just wouldn't join us because we didn't have a house. Like, they liked us, but they didn't like us enough to the point where, like, like Sigma Chi always has a house. So, like, they got the kids, It's like stuff like that.
Especially early, too, because even it was PSK.
PSK, yeah.
And shout out to all the orgs at FDU. But when we first got there, it was everybody had a house overstowing something, and then we were just there.
Yeah.
And a little backstory in case you missed the pilot episode is we were all founding fathers our freshman year. We started our chapter up as freshmen. So when we pulled up for 3 of the 4 years, or I guess 3.5 years because of COVID, we didn't have a house. So we were kind of just, focused on the, building stage, the community service, the philanthropy stuff, and we wanted to, get a good core group of reputable guys. And then, once we had that reputation, we started throwing these parties. So a party isn't everything. It doesn't make an org, but it definitely has its perks. It helps a lot. Yeah,
it's a good recruiting tool.
Yeah,
definitely.
And to all e-board members or just anybody who, I'm gonna let you know right now that when we first got our house, trust me, I was stressed. Right, I was just like, I was happy we got it because it was about time we had the experience of a real fraternity. Not saying that we weren't, but then having that house put us in a place where we dreamed about going, and it took a lot of hard work to get there, right? But I'm gonna be honest, guys. That first stage, my stomach the night before was churning. I was nervous. I was just like, damn, like it could have been a million things that could go wrong, right? It could be, what if we throw one bad party and then off rip the beginning of the semester no one wants to join us, or it could be, what if the cops come? What if stuff happens? And as e-board, if you're on e-board or risk or anything social chair, that's natural to feel like that because you care, right? You care about what could happen. Again, be over prepared. That's better than not being prepared at all. Have a plan for things. Talk with your e-board, talk with your risk management chair. Communication goes a long way in any organization. And how we looked at it was, yes, we were a fraternity. We were also a business. And, businesses get fined. Businesses break regulations. Businesses have runs. They have low points. They have growing pains. And you guys and girls should understand that. And then once you understand those things happen, I think you'd be successful. So
that was a pretty good wrap up of like the whole part of it. Like, we were just talking about stories, but like there are lessons to be learned. Obviously,
definitely.
We're not trying to apply this shit to big schools. We're trying to apply this to like, smaller to medium-sized schools.
I mean, look, you got 3 guys out of all of the Greek life in the whole world, talking to you. We have very limited perspective, but we do have perspective. We have some insight. We have some wisdom. We went through our 4 years. We founded our own organization. So, not to say that our word is be all end all, but we definitely have some good ideas.
Some valid suggestions. Yeah. Agreed.
And even if you go to a big school, and if you think it still resonates, please try it and let us know. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to comment. Comment topics. Our email is in the description. Let us know what you would like to hear about. Let us know anything we can help you with. But even if you do go to a big school, I would love it to see you try to apply this. If you already do, just take what we have and make it better. That's always the goal with us, to plant the seeds and watch the tree grow.
Okay. Also, let us know, is it a Darty or a Dage? There's only one right answer, so don't even write Darty, right?
I said Dage. I don't know.
It's Dage.
A devil's advocate, yeah. I'm gonna go Darty. Day party.
All right.
All right, on that note, I gotta go. See you guys later. Peace out. I'm no longer part of this podcast.
We took enough of everyone's time, so I hope everyone has a great night, day, whatever you're going through right now. So, all right.
Peace out, everybody.
Till next time.
Signing out.